Ewan natin. Better na yan?
sir.
Okay, Kalai, Sir Ronnie, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we're live. It is now 7:59 p.m., just 1 minute short of 8 p.m. as a scheduled time for our program. It is now the 16th of July 2020, and we are broadcasting live over YouTube and will be shared later on Facebook through our Poste page, as well as the United Architects of the Philippines Barasoain Chapter page. Good evening, everyone. This is Poste Podcast number 2. And tonight we'll be talking about regenerative architecture with our guest, architect Ronnie Yumang. I am, of course, your anchor for the show, architect Pacoy Aniag. And with me are my co-anchors. Well, for one, his biggest fan is Mr. Paulo Contis, and I've been seeing him a lot on Facebook this past week, simply because he released a new movie with Alessandra De Rossi last week. And, well, if you see him, you'd know what I'm talking about. We have architect Vahn Pineda. Say something, Van.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Poste Podcast. Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. All right. We are fresh from our first run. This is our run, of course, and I'm so excited for tonight because for one, we have a good topic, and second, we have a really, really amazing guest for tonight. So I'm really excited for the discussion that's going to happen tonight. And correct ko lang, sir. Actually, hindi bagong release yung movie ni Tokayo. Tokayo o Kamukha. It was actually released last year, pero it was ano lang, parang I think they sell it on Netflix and Netflix released it this month.
Ah,
Actually, dalawa siya. Yung Leon and the other one is like the comedy indie stuff. So, yun.
okay.
Anyway,
And
good evening again. Welcome to Pocket.
yes, and we have the only flower among the thorns, the director of media and public relations in UAP Barasoain Chapter. We have architect Kalai de Leon.
Hi everyone, good evening. So sa lahat ng nanonood ngayon, together with Architect Pacoy and Architect Van, we would like to welcome you to our second run of our Poste Podcast. So I hope mag-enjoy kayo and you learn something new.
Yes, okay. And without further ado, let's introduce our guest for the night. He finished his architecture studies at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, that is. He completed his graduate studies in architecture at the University of the Philippines. He has worked on several renowned firms, both local and abroad. A former member of the Academe, has written several articles for local publications, and is also the former Secretary General of the United Architects of the Philippines, the national organization, the President and CEO of Joya Properties, and the Principal Architect and Environmental Planner of Yumang Design Studio. Currently, he released an ebook entitled Connected Regenerative Architecture Systems Thinking. He is BERDA certified, proud member of the UAP, a proud member of the Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners, and is an ASEAN architect. Architect Ronnie Yumang.
Hello.
Good evening, Architect
Hi.
Ronnie.
Good evening po sa inyo. Good evening. Pakoy, good
Magandang
evening.
gabi, magandang gabi, Sir Architect.
Good evening, Roy.
Yeah.
I realized
Welcome.
may kasama pala tayong artista, no? Si Paolo Contis.
May celebrity tayo, sir.
Paolo, konti lang.
Oh, Contis.
Konti lang.
Sir,
Welcome to Poste Podcast, Architect Ronnie.
yes, sir. Where are
Thank you
you?
very
Where are we chatting with you from? Where are you right now, sir?
We are here in Alfonso. Yeah, I am here in Alfonso, Cavite right now. A very cold weather and foggy weather, Alfonso, Cavite.
Nice. Buti pa kayo, sir.
Ang sarap,
Cold
kainit.
and
Ang
foggy.
init.
Dito sir, ang init dito sa Bulacan. We're
Yeah,
all
I
Wow.
enjoyed. Yeah, uh, my family enjoyed living here. Actually, that's one of the things that we like the most. Staying here, we grow our own
Mhm,
food. We're into farming right now. No,
mhm.
we are actually, in fact, kanina naglinis ako ng garden kasi ang dumi-dumi na ng aming garden, puro mangga. At yung mangga hindi na napupulot. So, sayang.
so
Yeah,
Bro,
and
have you?
we have several. In fact, a few weeks ago, we were able to get a Scops owl. That's an endemic species of an owl here in
wow.
Wow,
Wow.
Calabarzon area. No?
wow.
Yeah,
And sir, being
Have
from
you been
really
staying there,
Alfonso,
exciting.
sir?
being in Alfonso
Come
Cavite,
again.
do you where do you work? Do you work from home or do you work in Manila? How's travel like for you? Malayo po ba yung hindi ba malayo yung Alfonso
Yeah,
Cavite going to?
actually, after what happened, the Taal eruption, ano ha,
Oh
I
yeah.
uh,
Mhm,
I planned to set up an office here already in Alfonso because our office was used to be in Legazpi Towers. Actually, we still have our place there, but my daughter doesn't want to live in Manila anymore.
Yes.
She's studying here in a Singapore school in Silang.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't
mhm.
want to go to Manila anymore because of init daw.
Yes.
Here, we don't use fans. We don't use fans. We don't use aircons. Very seldom that we use fans at night. No?
Mm.
Pero malamig. Malamig pa rin siya. And yeah, every time, uh, that's actually one of the things that I'm going to discuss later on, Pacoy.
Mhm,
Because of this, I am trying to create a different business model for architecture. Actually, this is not
mhm,
only about regenerative in terms of the environment per se, but in terms of entrepreneurial literacy for our architects. No? This
Yes.
is what I've been wanting to share with architects amongst our architects, all over the Philippines and all over the world actually. Especially marami tayong OFWs na nawala ng trabaho and marirepatriate
mhm,
sila, no? I hope I'll be able to give them a few ideas how can they productize their architecture because I uh, I started to give up with the design service, our situation with the design service. No? Parati makikita mo yan na Pakoy,
Yes.
nagre-reklamo yung mga arkitekto kasi hindi tayo nabayaran or
Yes.
merong problema in terms of the contract. No? And along the
yes,
way, I saw that as a problem that we're not doing anything about it. Actually, college pa ako, problema na yan eh. No?
Yes.
And yung college na yun, matagal na yun, Van. And I would like to create also a solution for that kasi
mm,
lingering yung problem, recurring yung problem, and we cannot always complain about it. No?
And
Yeah.
actually, sir, if I may,
that's it.
with your proposed, I guess, solution to architecture as a business, maganda dyan yung mga mas batang architects, especially, kasi sa chapter namin, for example, we get a lot of questions on how to establish their businesses and how to go legit in so to speak. And if that will be somewhat of the better normal, at least that's what they will be witness to. That will is what they will be experiencing already, as opposed to what
Mhm.
perhaps you and I experienced. Na yun nga sinabi nyo nga hindi nababayaran or pahirapan sa kliyente. So yun.
Yeah, that's
At
right.
least the new
Um, in fact, um, Pakoy, I realized hindi lang din ito para sa mga bata. This is for the middle-aged architects also. Because they are the ones, yung mga bata kasi nag-experiment pa sila eh.
Yes.
Pero yung mga may family, No, ito yung talagang tatamaan ng problema ng architecture service natin. And
Mm.
that's the very reason why I created the regenerative architecture. I have another topic which is a business of architecture, yung innovations in business of architecture. I always wanted to distinguish your service and create your own blue ocean strategy so that you won't uh, be able to have the same product to offer. No? Ang
Yes.
nangyayari kasi, we look at it just as a service. Ito yung pananaw natin ever since. That's centuries ago. And our culture keeps on changing. In fact, Elon Musk are sending rockets in the space, di ba? But
Yes.
we are still discussing about CPD points. Somehow we are so behind. We need to think of a different business model this time to be able to survive and try to not to be disrupted by this 3D printing technology. Otherwise, may iwan tayo. And that's the
Yes.
reason why I created the regenerative architecture, Pacoy.
I see. So let's talk about the topic now. Van, I believe you prepared some questions. Audio. Van, my audio problems. Anyway, why don't I? Well, first, sir. Yes, since we're there, why don't you talk a little about what regenerative architecture is, how it benefits us, and I guess what the importance of regenerative architecture is.
Yeah. At first, I would like to set the background for this, Pacoy. Um, when I was when I was still trying to struggle with my practice, no, at the time, I don't know how to earn money because I was just recently got married,
Mm-hmm.
and ang problema namin is five of my clients simultaneously hindi ako nabayaran, no? Kung
Five.
anong
Wow.
problema ng lahat ng arkitekto, yan din ang problema ko,
Yes.
di ba?
Grabe.
So hindi po pwede na I won't be able to survive with this kind of situation. For some
Mm.
reason or another, either merong politics in the construction industry or alam mo yung culture sa construction, ano, Pakoy,
Yes.
hihingi sa'yo ng commission, tapos
Yes.
magkakaproblema ka with that part. So at the time I was teaching at the PUP, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this thing na on the other side, magtuturo ako at sabihin ko sa estudyante ko na huwag niyong gagawin ito. Di ba?
Yes.
Somehow I won't be able to walk the talk. So with that, sabi ko kailangan meron akong business na uh, long term at merong short term. And at the same time, kailangan meron akong product na whenever I sell it, I'll be able to earn right away. No?
Mm-hmm.
Hindi po pwede yung paghihintayin ako na ibigay ko na yung aking service and yet maghintay ka kung kailan nila gustong magbayad.
Yes.
So with that, sabi ko I need to look for something that relative with my design profession, and that is the landscaping business. Since my wife loves plants, and they have a property in Fairview, we uh, uh, we had we turned it into a nursery. We bought plants dyan in Bulacan, no, and
Yes.
also uh, in Laguna. We went to the far flung places. We went to the mountains, and we enjoyed. No, we enjoyed searching for plants, and that's when I realized that each one of them, if you're talking of bamboo, each one of them is unique.
Mm.
No,
Mhm.
they're like humans. No, they're like humans that each one of us, either we're siblings, we are distinct with each other, and that's caught my attention. with that uniqueness. And at the same time, whenever I do that planting, no, um, there is some sort of a joy that I felt uh, uh, when I tried to communicate with these plants. I realized that they are also communicating with you. So
Yes.
I was able to establish that relationship with them, and along the way comes Yolanda, no, yung
Hmm.
extreme typhoon natin. I was able to become a part of uh, uh, the IFC World Bank research, no, regarding this disaster. And I realized along the way that this typhoon, this extreme typhoon, is they come and go. I mean, uh, they have they visited the same place for the same uh, every year, but this extreme typhoon visited the same area for 100 years. No, it
Yes.
happened already during the 1897. Okay, with
You
almost the same casualty, 6,000 plus ang
you
casualty rin,
mean Yolanda, sir?
and because of yes, the Yolanda, and because of our climate change, nagkakaroon ng mas maiksing time yung recurrence ng extreme typhoon. And so mararamdaman natin ano, kahit na ordinaryong ulan lamang, meron tayong baha, meron
Hmm.
tayong mga ganitong problema. Yung Ondoy, for example,
Yes,
no?
yes.
And then I realized, uh, kung meron tayong mga ganitong natural hazards, how are they going to grow? How are we going to replenish these resources? Although they can replenish on their own, you know. But on myself, what can I do? What can I do para ma-mitigate no, yung problema na ito? And so, because of this recurring problem, I realized na we're not doing anything bold to be able to solve this problem. And that's when I realized that I need to do something on my own capacity to be able to contribute, to be able to do something with this problem na hindi ako aasa sa government because once you rely on the government because of this bureaucratic pattern, tumatagal yung decision making and nagkakaroon ng political
Yes.
hindrance, no? Nagkakaroon ng problema. That create more problems, no? And so nagpatong-patong ito. This compounded the situation. More so when I attended a seminar with the Green Building, ano,
Hmm.
I realized that there are too many complex computations with how are we going to save water? How are we going to save energy, the embodied energy, etc., etc. No? But when I asked a question that, what if there is a tree in front of the house? How are we going to solve these computations? No? Kasi yung tree is so complex, nagde-defoliate yung kanyang dahon, and then
Yes.
after yung season niya, meron na ulit siya. And so, hindi siya kasama doon sa computation. Only the things that are uh, uh, easily seen, no? Yun yung mga kasama doon sa computation, sa mga embodied energies. Okay, this created my eagerness, no, to there's something lacking. There's a huge gap that needs to be done. Kasi what we're doing actually is yung sustainability concept is about reducing the resources that we are using, no?
Mm-hmm.
So sabi
Yes,
ko,
yes.
there is something that is missing to this concept. that's incomplete, no, I need to do something about it. So I researched about it until I realized the essence of the significance of the native species. No, I started with the native trees. Um, uh, I uh, I promoted and advocated the native trees, and then from there, doon na lumaki yung aking research, Pacoy, and I was able to create this regenerative architecture. And by the way, this is not original. In fact, meron na nito abroad, but
Mm-hmm.
hindi lang sila ganun ka laki pa right now. And what they are focusing abroad are more into utilities. What I am focusing here is more on biodiversity and the ecosystem.
So the concept comes
Oh.
from elsewhere. Pero dito you're
Come again.
focusing the concept of regenerative architecture or design in sabi nyo nga focuses more on utilities in other countries. Pardon me because I've honestly I'm not too aware of this topic. Kaya nga mind blown ako nung magka-chat tayo this past week. Dinifferentiate niya sa akin yung difference ng sustainability and regenerative. So parang wow, oo nga no. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I like you or in my own capacity through the Poste channel, I've released several videos hindi naman against concrete pero against because I know that there are sustainability issues with concrete definitely pag nakita mo to develop concrete the sand the aggregates the cement you have to tear down a whole mountain hindi ba so sa inyo sir
Right.
other than like you said it comes from other countries um well in your research how does it apply to local design or how can we use it.
Okay. First, let me, I don't know, Paco, if you were able to receive the images that I sent to you. The first one is the diagram, the chart.
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Do you have it? If not, let me continue. No?
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yes. Hold on. Ito sir. Yan.
Wala. Okay.
It's up. It's up.
So, what's up? Okay. Pero Sir Ronnie, this concept of regenerative architecture, if I get it correct, more of the built environment being one with nature. Parang it's a more nature approach of sustainable design. Tama po ba ako?
Actually, not only nature, Van. It's the whole systems thinking. The idea here
Mm-hmm. Okay.
is to differentiate yung question kanina ni Pacoy about sustainability and regenerative design. Is this
Regenerative.
sustainability is we are trying to focus on how are we going to save the resources. That's
Resources,
that's
yes.
the definition. That's the definition of sustainability. I think I have it. Let me just read yung definition ng sustainability. No? I have it here. Okay. Uh, uh,
And kasi
okay.
this kind
Anyhow, let
go
me
ahead, sir.
let me answer it muna. Sustainability is about we are concerned on how are we going to reduce the use of water,
Water,
the use of electricity, yung power. No?
electricity,
We are promoting renewable energy, and that's the reason
energy.
why yan yung mga kasama doon sa criteria ng for you to apply a LEED certification, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
How are you going to achieve this? Kinakailangan smart yung building, kailangan yun yung mga present doon sa ating certified lead buildings, no? And so with that, how the question is, with the same population that we have, the world population that we have is about 7.7 billion. Okay, by the year
Yes.
2050, we're going to reach additional 2 billion, or about 9.7 billion. Okay, if we're going to use the same amount of resources right now, and we're going to save, how are we
We will
going
run
to
out.
use the same resources when we reach
Mm-hmm.
9.7 billion on the year 2050? All right. Case in point, yung binigay kong mga images kay Pacoy recently. When we extract natural resources like sand, gravel, and
Gravel.
lime for concrete, they are not renewable. Okay, they are renewable on the next 200 million years. All right. So therefore, this is the big question. Saan
We will
kukuha
run
ng
out.
resource yung next 2 billion population natin if we will not replenish our resource? Okay, I will not take out rule out the possibility or the importance of concrete, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what
Yes.
I'm trying to say here is we have a huge looming problem. All right, what are we gonna do when we reach that problem? No, mako-confuse na naman tayo. Teka. Wala na tayong resource na ganito. What are we gonna
Pagkukuhanan.
do?
Oo.
So what's going to happen is tataas ang demand, tataas yung presyo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes,
Because we didn't
definitely.
do kasi reactive tayo eh. Ganun ang nangyayari sa atin. And so regenerative design is about replenishing what you have consumed. Alright?
Okay.
So this is the systems thinking ito. Alright? Systems thinking, ibig sabihin, hindi ito nakarely lamang sa architecture, ito ay holistic. For example, the gadgets that we are using right now, did you know that on a population of 7.7 billion, we have 8.3 billion gadgets all over the world. Okay? This is the data 2018 or 2019 yata. This means that
That's too
one,
much.
1.3 per person merong gadget all over the world.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, only 20% of that is being recycled. Saan napupunta yung 80%? Okay? These are quarried resource as well. Yung black sand natin, we have quarried black sand, di ba? In the north, Cagayan, for example. Diyan yung news natin na maraming nakakwari na black sand. Ito yung ginagawang glass at ginagawa na monitor natin, no? Yung sa gadgets
Mm-hmm.
natin. Because
Mhm.
of the silica. Because of that silica. All right? So, because of this, maraming mga islands, mga islets, nawawala, no? They're vanishing. Okay? Without you knowing. In fact, yung Dubai, saan galing yung sand na pinang-reclaim nila? From Australia yata, or I forgot. And China, one of the biggest consumer during the Olympics that
Oh
time.
yes, I remember that.
Nasaan ngayon yung structure? Di ba? Nasaan yung structure nila after that? Di ba? And we extracted these resources, and we can never put that back again. Once
Yeah.
you demolish that concrete, panambak na lang siya,
Wala na siya.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Wala na siya.
We won't be able to use it again. We won't be able to use it again. And so I have to admit that we will have a problem eventually. Okay? So this is a systems thinking that we need to do something about. Kasama dito sa aking book is about living less. All right? You don't need to consume and consume. You have to live less. Okay?
Mhm.
So these are some of the wisdom that I'll be imparted on my ebook.
Sir,
And apart from, I think, sir, apart from system thinking, this kind of concept is more of forward thinking din, di ba? Thinking ahead of not na hindi natin maubos yung available resources, but of course, bago pa tayo makapag-consume ng marami, mapalitan na natin.
What's
yes.
good about this, Van? What's good about this, Paulo? Paulo, Van pala.
I got you confused there,
What's
sir.
good about... na-confuse ako eh. Kasi kamukha mo talaga eh. What's good about this, Van, is we are forward looking, and at the same
Mhm.
time is we are emerging ourselves with ancient stories, with ancient wisdom. Kasama
Yes.
dito yung aking heritable indigenous wisdom. All right, I learned I learned from the Ibatans and from the Ipugaos, most especially. Ito yung kasama sa aking ebook. One of the examples, great examples na ginawa ko on my case study, no? Um, on Yolanda, they had 6,000 casualties, all right? While the same thing happened with Batanes, no? With their super typhoon Ferdy or Meranti, no? Yung kanyang international name. Uh, Also category 5 with a 1 minute sustaining wind of 220 kilometers per hour, or 215 rather, with a 10-minute sustained wind of 315 kilometers per hour. The same super typhoon, the same strength with Yolanda, but Batanes had zero casualties, none. Walang namatay, walang nasugatan.
Because of their architecture and how they were prepared for it.
Because of their indigenous wisdom,
Yes, okay.
because of that heritable indigenous wisdom. All
Pero,
right,
yes, sir.
because they know how to deal with the environment, and ito yung nawawala sa atin because of our too much reliant with the technology. I have to admit, when I'm doing my research, National Geographic's admitted that yung technology has its limitations. All right?
Mhm.
If it has, kasi gawa siya ng tao eh. All right? If it has limitations, then hindi lahat kaya niyang makover at kaya niyang ma-detect kung merong problema. Okay? Like for example, I happen to read the book of Nicholas Taleb, no? Nicholas Taleb, yung kanyang Black Swan, sinabi niya rito na hindi porket meron kang hindi nakikita, hindi siya mag-exist. Alright? It is possible na meron siyang binigay na example, kagaya ng cancer, no? Hindi porket hindi na-detect ng machine, wala kang cancer.
Wala kang
Probably,
answer.
yung machine na yon, hindi yan designed to be able to detect that particular cell. Okay? So therefore, hindi ka pa cancer-free. So, using the same analogy with that other technology, meron tayong mga cases na hindi mo pwedeng masabi na tama yung technology. Therefore, we need to also rely on that several centuries wisdom. Kaya siya several centuries eh. Right? Meron silang kaalaman. For example, uh, pagka nakita mo, Pacoy, na yung mga langgam nagbi-build up na ng bahay nila sa labas, may
Mm.
parating na bagyo. This is the
Mm.
so-called ecological wisdom. All right?
Mm.
And this is also included on the wisdom of the deep ecology by what's the name? The deep ecology movement and the Gaia, no? Which was
Yes.
discussed also on my ebook. Um, uh, all are interconnected kasi,
Yes, sir.
no? Pag merong nangyari sa isang part na yan, magre-react yung kabila. And that's the reason why we need to listen to that. There is so much that we can learn from nature. Okay? And ang problema natin, we are trying to say that we are designing with nature,
Are
but
we?
we shoo away the smallest of the arthropods, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Yung
Mhm.
arthropods na yan enriches the soil. And soil means life, di ba? So
Mm.
these are more getting deeper and deeper, Pacoy, ano? Tell me if I'm talking too much,
No,
Pacoy,
no,
ha?
no, sir.
I'm getting
I
Go
passionate
ahead,
here.
sir.
I actually
Go ahead, sir.
have a comment on what you said. Dito kasi sa Bulacan, especially Malolos, Apalit, Pampanga, these are marshlands. And from several projects that I've had here locally, I've noticed na pag nag-demolition kami and everything, merong mga na-unearthed na pieces of wood, whether that be by a river or on a deck or kahit na submerged yung part ng foundation ng bahay. Ang sinabi sa akin nung isang carpenter na medyo matanda na tao ko dati dito, sabi niya, kasi alam namin piliin yung kahoy. Alam namin. So
Correct.
whether or not alam nila yung piliin, well, nakita namin as in parang walang damage. Whereas yung mga imported na China wood, in a matter of months, may anay na kagad. Pero ito,
Tama.
I wouldn't say centuries, pero I'd say at least decades old, ang ganda pa ng form ng kahoy. Di ba? So,
I agree.
there's a question to that, and that is, to your knowledge right now, kasi sir, following yung sinabi niyo about Ivatan architecture and the Ivatan culture, how do we do all of this when we have capitalism, when we have commercialism, when all
Yes.
of that is in play? I mean, this is after all the modern world, and our minds have been wired towards a certain direction in which it's more tech based, it's more commercialism based, consumerism and everything. But before you answer that, sir, Kalai, why don't you replug Sir Yumang's book, and why don't you greet our viewers on Facebook and YouTube?
Okay, so we are live again and marami na tayong sir, greetings, nagpapa-greet, and
Greetings.
actually we also have questions, phone-in questions dun sa live chat natin sa YouTube. So we have here Sir Architect Jose De Leon, Architect DD Albert Dumlao, Architect Ara, and Architect Ana Gonzalez, our beloved secretary, ang aming masipag na secretary ng UAP Barasoain. Also, we
Yes,
have
very sipag.
Adrian Barrera, and our chapter president, Architect Bien Clavio Jr. And we also have our immediate past president, Architect Hershey Didulo. So, hello po sa inyo, good evening, and welcome to our second run of Poste Podcast. So, Architect Ronnie, may mga questions lang po sila about
Okay.
sa mga nabanggit nyo kanina. So, I'll mention some. So, from Architect Ana Gonzalez, I think nung na-mention nyo yata yung regarding ecological, yung sa effects natin.
Wisdom.
So, is it ecological wisdom? Is it like ecological footprint daw ba? So,
No, it's different. Ecological wisdom is how you will be able to communicate or understand, no, yung interconnectedness ng nature, the ecosystem itself. That's what I'm talking about. Like for example, also on my ebook, I was able to interview one of the officers of the DRRM nila, and a native Ivatan, ano. When he noticed that there is yung bamboo, no, yung growth ng bamboo parehong magkapantay, that gave him, kasi seldom mangyari yan na magkapantay yung growth ng bamboo. That gave him an idea na there is something brewing, no, in terms of a very strong typhoon. That is aside from yung kanilang Arius. Pagka tumutubo na yung kanilang dahon na ganon, that's yellow-green na, at mabilis yung pagtubo at na-observe nila yan, uh, yung klase ng bagyo is mas malakas, no? So these are the kinds of the wisdom that I'm talking about, Lai. Yung ecological footprint, this is different.
Yun nga, sir.
Okay.
Ate, si Didi Albert is asking if it's possible for us to explain further kung ano ba ang ancient wisdom na pinag-uusapan natin, sir.
Yung alin yung
Ancient wisdom, sir. If it's
okay. Okay, the ancient wisdom, the heritable indigenous wisdom that I am talking about here are ito yung mga minana. I'll give you an example. In Batanes, for example, yung kanilang bangka, yung kanilang tataya, it doesn't have a rig. It doesn't have yung guide. All right? Nakakatakot.
Yes.
In fact, pag tumakay ka ng bangka na walang ganon,
Wala yung katig.
nakakatakot yan. But,
Yes.
yeah, walang katig. Pero sa kanila, because they had observed yung klase ng wave, mas delikado pagka merong katig, itataob niya yung bangka mo at hindi ka na makakabalik. Okay? And they had
Pala
observed
yun.
na yung wave is different from another island. Magkaiba yung kuryente sa ilalim eh. Di ba? And therefore, the way they designed their boat, mas flattened yung kanyang ilalim. Okay? Mas flatten yon rather than mas patusok. Para nagsasayaw siya doon sa wave. All right? So these are the ancient wisdom, and aside from that, they cannot fish more than the established quota. All right? They police themselves.
Yes.
Hindi ka po pwedeng ito yung the story of what do you call that, tragedy of the commons. Diba? You cannot get more than what you want kasi mauubusan yung iba. Alright? Hindi tayo po pwedeng consume ng consume. At yung kinonsume natin, i-apply natin yung ancient wisdom na yan into the modern situation, meron siyang valid reason. Diba? Kasi ang nangyayari is ito yung tanong kanina, Pacoy, because of the capitalism, right?
Yes, yes.
These capitalists, they will produce and produce and produce. And that's the reason why yung ating mga manok, these are the number one source of biodiversity loss. Yung manok, yung baka, biro mo nakakatakot dahil less than 30 days na lang, meron ka ng manok, kakainin mo. Grown.
Hindi na nga
Grown from a
45
chemical.
days.
Di ba? It's
Yes.
grown from a chemical. Nakakatakot yan. Aside from that, in Ifugao, meron silang tinatawag na following. FALLOWING. Alright? Follow. Okay? Pagka natapos silang magtanim dito, iiwan nila yan para makarecover yung kanilang lupa. Yung analogy na yan is nire-refer nila sa isang ina. Okay? Hindi po pwedeng mag-aanak yung babae. Kailangan nagre-recover siya.
Makabawi ang katawan.
Makabawi siya. And we are not doing the same thing. Right? Ang ginagawa natin, fertilizer. Tanim ng tanim ng tanim. Alright? Wherein the very source of life comes from the soil. Diba?
Yes.
So, again, these are ancient wisdom that we are ignoring because of technology. Meron tayong fertilizer eh. Diba? Meron tayong growth hormones eh.
Yes.
Diba? So, ito yung ignore natin because of technology. And because of that technology, meron siyang hindi nakikita. Meron siyang hindi na detect na pwedeng makasama sa tao. And you have to remember, pwedeng mawala ang tao, pero hindi pwedeng mawala ang anay.
Anay.
Sila yung forever.
Hindi pwedeng mawala ang mga smallest arthropods. Okay? Pero ang tao, pwede siyang mawala at makaka-recover ang ating Earth. Because yung kanilang ecosystem will repair itself. Now,
Okay.
ang tao comprises only of about 0.004% ng total biomass
Total.
on Earth. Okay?
Yes.
Napakaliit lang natin. Pero tayo yung sumisira sa mundo.
Yes.
Right? So yung ating kapasidad para sirain yung bahay natin, tayo yung may kasalanan.
Well,
Alright?
yes, sir. Ako, sir, I have
So
an
basically,
opinion.
this ancient wisdom.
Yes, sir. Would you agree with me na dito sa Pilipinas, I agree. We should value the ancient wisdom more. And in fact, siguro in the past, let's say 100 years, na-value pa natin yun eh. Other than the fact that siguro our colonizers somewhat erased the centuries-old wisdom that we probably had. Pero meron kasing concept ngayon na parang thinking na parang through the centuries, and especially because we were war torn in the 40s, parang nagkaroon tayo ng age of depravity na parang to a point na ayaw natin yung luma. Ayaw natin yung the old structures, and laging kailangan bago. In fact, I put that responsible for why we're losing our heritage structures as well. So
I agree.
So I was trying to relate that to what you were saying about ancient wisdom. Dahil true enough, ako nabilib ako sa sinabi niya about the bamboo. Na parang that was their ancient barometer. Na that's all they looked at, and they know that something's coming. And
Yeah.
And I firmly believe yung sinabi niya sa Ivatan, yung pagiging flatboat nila, because I have an interest, I wouldn't say a deep interest in boats, pero being off the marshlands dito sa Bulacan, tumitingin din tayo. But anyway,
Right.
I also understand yung sinabi niyo, sir, about the currents, about the difference in currents. So parang would you say that those techniques, even with regenerative architecture, is other than a general concept as a whole, pero geolocated din or regional din siya talaga?
No. It has to be specific to a single place, Pacoy. Kagaya nung sa Batanes, no, sa Itbayat, sa Sabtang, they have a particular current dun sa kanilang wave. So meron silang different traditional knowledge on each islands, no? Meron silang kani-kanila. Kasi nga
okay.
they
Okay.
like for example, Pacoy, when I happened to research on a Bantayan Island project also, sabi ko bakit yung mga tao rito, ba't hindi sila nagtatanim? For all we know, kala natin tamad yung mga tao, ba't hindi nagtatanim? Yun pala, it's not because tamad sila, but rather walang tutubo doon because it's a karst landscape. Ba't yung ilalim mo, lime eh. Right?
Okay,
So,
yes.
hindi, so, yung mga ganong situation, you need to understand yung mga ganong conditions, kaya hindi siya generalized. Now, ito yung problema natin na Pacoy. A consultant from Manila will go to that specific place at sasabihin niya, hindi ganyan dapat ganito. Kasi kami yung mas aral because of the technology.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yes.
hindi ngayon pakikinggan yung mga indigenous. Right?
Yes.
So, nagkaroon ng problema, nag-iba yung ginawa nila. That's what happened also in Batanes. No? Yung mga churches, if you employ the same technology natin here in the city, hindi yan maglalast sa kanila.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alright?
I would
Kasi
agree.
they have a different environment.
And I think, sir, that is the importance na maipasa yung ancient wisdom from one generation to
Correct,
another para
correct,
para yung mga practices
correct.
and traditions and kung ano mga nakagawin and whatever this indigenous or
Yeah,
whatever these people
right,
know maipasa sa new generation so they would
right.
know how to continue on with the practices.
And para
Correct.
not
Yeah.
to lose
And
it.
yeah, according to Dr. Daniel Christian Wall, no, he is the one promoting talaga in the US ng regenerative culture. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
according to him, our problem kasi is the Westerners compartmentalize our education. For example, uh, us are studying architecture. Others are studying botany, they're studying
Yes.
zoology, they're
Mhm.
studying horticulture. But nature is not like that. They are interconnected. How are we going
Interconnected,
to
no?
understand, diba? How are we going to understand the relationship of this to the piece if we are not studying that? Diba?
Oh,
So ang
yeah.
problema
Yes.
Tama,
natin
sir.
ngayon, we are detached. We are detached from these kinds of education. And so
Mm.
ang idea nga natin is the ecological wisdom. We need to understand that.
Kasi this ecosystem that we have parang it runs
They're
on a certain
interconnected.
cycle and a certain
Correct.
pattern that
Correct.
na dapat hindi natin ma-disrupt. But then again, because of
Correct.
technology, little by little,
Correct.
this cycle is being disrupted by human or because of
Correct.
modernization and
They're
technology. So, ito ngayon yung nagiging effect sa nature natin
right.
or sa ecosystem.
Right.
And that's
That's because we
parang,
don't understand them.
yes, sir. And as far as I understand it, this cycle or this pattern is what we have to get back on. Parang maibalik natin yung sistema or yung cycle ng ecosystem para
Yeah.
tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang yung species natin or kung ano man yung nasa earth, 'di ba?
So
Right.
it's on
Right.
it's
For example,
so it's on a more vernacular
yeah.
level talaga. Dapat yung what's local talaga.
Yeah. Yeah. Indigenous, no?
Yes.
It's very important that we understand that. Kasi nga, you will notice, no, the most abundant places on Earth, nandyan yung mga indigenous tribes,
Yes.
di ba?
Pero pero Sir
Kasi
Ronnie, my
they're
question
protecting.
my question now is since I've said earlier about technology and modernization, this regenerative approach to design daw or this regenerative approach, does it go against modernization? Kasi parang if we are talking about ancient wisdom and knowledge, then we go back to history and parang that's where I got confused kasi we're talking about forward thinking but then again we're talking about ancient wisdom. So where do they combine or where do they meet?
Okay, depending on how you will define modernization, Van, ano ha? As for me, I don't want to give any label on that, but what
Mhm.
I want to do is do what is right and do what is
Okay.
how humans can survive, di ba? Kasi I have to acknowledge right now, alam niyo yung simpleng problema natin sa dengue, di ba? Alam
Mhm.
niyo yung simpleng
Yes, sir.
problema natin sa alam niyo yung simpleng problema natin sa COVID, di ba? These are zoonotic. Okay? These are zoonotic. Galing yan sa hayop eh. Right? Because we invaded them, now, nagkakaroon tayo ng ganitong situation. Yung sa dengue, for example, a very simple solution is because we displaced, we disrupt yung habitat ng kanilang predator. May nakikita pa ba kayo ng mga
Yes.
tutube? Diba? Yung mga dragonfly? It's very seldom. May nakikita pa
Wala
ba
na.
tayo na
Oo nga,
firefly?
no?
Diba? Ito yung mga,
Oo nga.
ito yung mga kumakain ng lamok. Diba? That is because we ignore them. Diba? We displace them. So that's the
Mm-mm.
problem. And then we will put a caption, designing with nature. There's something wrong with that.
Yun, sir. Yun naman. So with designing of nature, my next question is, since we're talking about ancient wisdom and then forward thinking and then design, how do we do? I mean, what are the strategies na pwede natin gawin to achieve this regenerative design?
Okay. What I'm doing, although I have to admit that this is still incomplete, ano, ha? Because
Mhm.
I'm still in the process of researching it, finding ways. What I'm doing is I advocate the use of timber, wood.
Yes.
Timber.
The
Okay.
use of blue laminated timber, for example, or cross laminated timber, although these are all imported, okay? But there is an enterprise on this side, Pacoy, ano, ha? If the architects can learn from this, for example, although this will take a longer time. For example, if I plant a toog tree, for example, it will take me about 8 to 10 years para mag-harvest ako. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at
Yes.
least, pag regenerate ang tree, right? And then I'm
Mhm.
going to create that into a timber. Ito yung
Mhm.
engineered timber na glulam or cross-laminated timber. So, in fact, abroad, they're having a high-rise tower using wood, all wood.
Yes, I
Okay,
saw that.
um, um, they're ano, no, made of all wood in Australia, Canada, U.S., Japan. They're doing that. Um, but as of the moment, what I'm doing is kasi I'm having my own development. I'm doing steel structures. Yung steel na yan, yung steel susunugin ko lang siya, marireuse ko siya eh, right? Pero yung
Mhm.
semento, pag gumamit ako ng poste at footing, panambak ko na lang siya. So I prefer to use steel kasi
Steel.
we're talking of commercialization this time,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
How am I going to make it mainstream, right? I have on my pages, no, yung kung paano ko siya ginawa. In fact, I am trying to conceptualize a tower, six story condominium towers here also in Tagaytay. No, that's about 6 to 8 towers using steel and wood. All right. So yun ang pinopromote ko. And another thing, I am using rammed earth. I made an experiment for that using. Uh, I did what I did. I started with a compacted earth on the slab, on the flooring. No, I did that here. Yung pinadala ko sa iyo, Pakoy,
Yes,
meron akong
sir.
pinadala. What I did is kung ano yung na-excavate ko, you need to separate yung meron siyang sandy part, meron siyang clay
Mhm.
part, meron siyang gravel part. Okay? So I don't have to use gravel itself, no? Yung nabibili natin in a here yung blue gravel na nabibili natin dito sa Rodriguez Rizal, di ba? Yung ginawa ko is kinompak ko siya with only about 7 to 15% of cement. Okay? So
Mm-hmm.
that means I was able to save about 80% nung cement. So if you're going to create a larger road pavement, hindi mo naman kailangan na matibay doon eh. So you don't need concrete, right? So kung ito i-convert mo yan into usage ng concrete, ang laki nung na-save natin sa cement, right? So with that, malaki yung kanyang nagiging potential. In fact, I want to try this on housing eh. Yung
Yes,
mga
sir.
Mhm.
low cost housing. Kasi nga kung ano yung na-excavate mo, yan din ang gagamitin mo. You don't need to
Ah, okay.
buy another material pa.
But doesn't that
But of course,
open, sir,
you need to
a new, parang hindi man new problem, pero a new consumption of a new material in which rammed
right, right.
with rammed earth, well, you use earth, you use soil. So doesn't that pose another problem in which syempre, if let's say magkaroon na siya ng mass application, eh parang mga quarry lang yan, wouldn't we be obliged to quarry mountains again and displace the earth from different locations as well?
No, no, kasi you have to observe again yung the story of tragedy of the commons, no? You cannot get more than what you can consume,
Ah,
no?
okay, okay.
Or else, at saka itong soil, they regenerate eh. 'di ba?
Yeah.
Nature knows how to regenerate themselves. Yung mga nabubulok na
Yes.
dahon, nagiging soil siya eh.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Iko-compost mo sila, magiging soil sila,
Yes.
right? So it's more healthy, more uh, 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 uh,
Sustainable.
uh, uh, sustainable siya rather than using yung concrete. I mean, gaano na tayo katagal gumagamit ng concrete, 'di ba? Since Parthenon times since
Yes. Greek
Greek
times.
times Roman times, 'di ba? So gaano na katagal 'yan. But of course, marami tayong ginamit during the war period, during the
Yes, sir.
uh, uh, what do you call that period, yung Le Corbusier, 'di ba? Post
Ah,
international modern, 'di ba?
yes, sir.
The
Yes,
brutalism.
sir. Pero sir, now I guess the obvious follow up to that would be policy. Ano ang magiging well,
Right.
as we know, yung sinabi nyo nga sa rule of the commons na you only use what you need and nothing in excess. How do
Right.
we tie that up with policy when again, back to my question earlier, um money is the biggest mover today. How can we control, how can governments control it when there's money to be made? Ika nga.
Correct. This is the idea behind it, Pacoy. Also, no? If the the house owner is going to build his own house, no, there is the so-called uh, the so-called contribution by the owner. It's called prosumers. Okay, the architects can develop a business model that the ones involved is the owner themselves. Okay, kung ikaw ang involved diyan, you get your own material kasi magiging mura yung iyong coste, di ba?
Yes.
Kung ano yung nahukay mo, kung ano yung gagamitin mo, nandyan na sa'yo. Unless you want it much more expensive, you want it much more a different kind of aesthetics, you are willing to spend somehow on this part, okay? Uh, Something like that, no? I believe, yes, of course, meron tayong mga policies, but ako kasi, ang dami na nating batas sa Pakoy eh. Pero sa dami ng batas, hindi talaga sumusunod ang
Walang
tao.
nasusunod.
Nasa kanya yan. Nasa kanya yan eh. But as for me, in fact, my own development, I designed it in a way na hindi siya 70-30, but rather 30-70 siya.
Okay.
You get the point?
Ano yung sizes ng lupa nyo na, sir?
2 hectares.
Wow, laki. So, malaki rin yung magiging
Correct.
property nila even at 30%.
That is because that's where you're going to get your food. That's where you're going to get your construction materials.
Okay. So parang yung,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, sir, that would be similar to yung other neighbors who just Tagaytay. Yung, like, for example, if I'm not mistaken, yung sa Canyon Cove, di ba parang farm, sila naman, ang approach nila, parang farm residences. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm totally guessing here.
I think it's more of the commercial side, Pacoy. But on my own concept, I will also employ yung heritable indigenous wisdom. So itong mga taong ito, they need to use that. They need to understand what's happening to their nature, no? Kasi I want them to co-thrive with other living organisms.
Yes, sir.
They have to observe that. But then when you start from there, it will ripple an effect, no? May nabasa akong ganitong concept with Frank Lloyd Wright. Although this is not the utopian concept, no, but yung ginawa niya in a I'm not sure, nakalimutan ko yung name ng kanyang ginawa eh. Ito yung circle yung dinesign niyang subdivision. No? It's something like that. The community themselves will polish no? Sila yung magpo-police ng kanilang community. Okay? Somewhat utopian in a concept, but I don't call it utopian. Somewhat uh, radical or medyo mahirap gawin, but we need to have some benchmark and some goal to hit, no? And then from there, saan tayo magkamali, we just correct it.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
we'll just make some marginal improvements, no? 1% at a time. I believe on that. You improve today, then tomorrow will be much more better.
Sir, what if you don't mind me asking, what's the status on that project of yours?
Um, Actually, I am promoting yung isang smaller part, which is the 3,500 square meters. I'm starting the pre-selling part. Pero ang hirap ma-convince sa Pacoy because naka-attach yung kanilang mind na kailangan meron ng nakatayo. Kasi
Yes,
ang
yes, yes.
ginagawa ko is design, build, and sell. Design, build, and sell. This is what I'm trying to say earlier, Pacoy, that ayaw ko na magbenta ng aking design service.
Yes.
Because sa design service, gawa na yung painting natin, ipapabago pa ng kliyente, and then after that, hindi ka nababayaran.
Correct,
Right?
correct, sir.
Samantalang nag-agree ka.
Yes.
These are the common problems nating mga architects, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
bakit itong mga developers, for example, when they sell condominiums, as is where is, pag binili mo yan,
Yun na.
di ba, kung may
That's
babaguhin
what we
ka,
get.
sagot mo na.
Ano yan?
Because they productize it, right? Who's the one doing that condominium? The architects naman di ba?
Yes, sir.
That means we can do it. That means we can do it. The problem is we don't have the money. We don't have the money. They also don't have the money. They get investors. So why don't we get investors? Di ba? If you have a very good narrative, if you have a very good pitch, you teach yourself how to sell that concept, you'll be able to get an investors. Medyo mahirap lang, right? Medyo mahirap lang. Pero the same ang hirap mo sa pagsingil,
Oo nga, sir.
right?
Actually,
Ito,
ano yun Yan yung,
very
yan yung business development aspect ng practice natin That's
Right.
very, not very talked about, not even
Right.
discussed in schools. Pero in real-time practice, actually, very
It's a
little
real
din ng
problem.
attention
Here, Pacoy, I'm giving up with the situation na bakit kinakailangan 10% yung ating professional fee na hindi
Yes.
naman natin nakukuha. Bababa sa 5%, bababa sa 1%, 3%, di ba?
Yes.
Chinarge ko nga lang ng 1% Hindi pa rin ako binayaran. Di ba?
Actually,
Hindi
sir,
pa rin ako binayaran. Naka-hold back na ko.
yung point nyo sa 10%, 5%, 1%, and beyond that, ako, honestly, personally, pag nakakasingil ako ng less than 10%, feeling ko nadaya ako ng sarili ko. Merong ganong aspect. Parang, alam ko dapat 10% Pero dinaya ko yung sarili ko para para lang makuha yung project. Di ba? So parang merong dignity na nawala
I don't look
Buti
at it
sana
that way.
kung nabawasan yung bayad mo, nabawasan din yung services, di ba? Hindi rin naman kasi you still give your full service.
Yes,
But then again,
yes.
yung charges sa'yo nababawasan. And that's the one that's unfair.
So what I'm looking at, Pacoy, is sabi ko, I want to productize my architecture. I want to deliver a product so that I need not to charge 10%. I will charge 20%.
Mm.
You get the point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So dito,
Okay.
because I created a value, I created a my blue ocean strategy where in fact wala kang maririnig na competitor with this kind of concept, right? So I was able to create a competitive barrier na ako lang yung magkakaroon nito, right? So with this, hindi ako makokopya kasi ang Pilipino, pag nakakita ng nagtitinda ka ng tubig, magtitinda rin siya ng tubig.
Correct.
Nag-online selling ka, mag-online selling na rin siya.
Correct.
Right?
So, in
So
yan
I
ngayon,
have to, again, on the
Honestly.
business aspect of it, I need to create my distinct business model wherein hindi ka pwedeng basta makokopya. Diba?
Mhm.
In fact, kagaya nung sinabi ko kanina, if I'll be able to complete yung aking round earth, no, I'll be able to patent that. I'll be
Yes.
able to create my own earth blocks,
Yes.
'di ba? I'll be able to patent that. Eh di ako lang yung meron nun, 'di
Mhm.
ba? So ito yung mali sa thinking nating architects kasi we are confined doon sa design service lang natin, right? Where in fact, yung sinasabi ko nga, Pakoy, when we design a structure, we are focusing on design, visualization, pagandahan pa yan, di ba? Payabangan pa sa visualization, project management, and construction. These
Yes.
are the four aspect lamang na nagpo-focus si architect. Pero, ang isang structure, it will end up how many years? 100 years perhaps? 50 years perhaps? What will happen doon sa years na yon na hindi natin ginalaw? Di ba?
Mhm.
Who's going to do that? The maintenance, for example. Di ba? So, ang mangyayari, si property manager, siya ang kukuha nun at mag-hire siya ng architect. Eh tayo
Yes.
ngayon, empleyado na naman. Di ba? So, there's something wrong with how we think how to operate our business model. So, yun yung problema.
Perhaps, sir, that
Yes.
should be something that is taught in schools as well. Kasi in school, I remember, wala namang ganyang thinking eh. Wala masyadong nagturo or nagsalita about the business aspect of architecture. And in fact,
Right.
even
And
project
we need,
management, kahit nung time na yun, I graduated around, wag natin sabihin yung year, pero noon, nung bagong nauuso pa lang ang mga handheld devices, na kahit project management, konting-konti lang eh. So, I think that's what's missing eh. Kasi we're expected to man our own business, to operate our own businesses, yet we have very little experience or knowledge on that in school.
yeah, it's really necessary right now, Pakoy, kasi if we're earning from it, if we're earning from it, then it's a business for us, right? It's our
Yes.
livelihood. So we might as well learn how to handle that money. Of course,
Yes.
of course, may mga challenges, no? Hindi naman siya ganon kadali. I will not say na ganon kadali, pero at least we have directions, no? Meron tayong pinupuntahan. Mag-benchmark tayo, then we'll go this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that we should also learn, sir, how to like part of the parang business management? Should we learn that as well?
Yes, entrepreneurship, kailangan yan. Very important, especially nowadays. Anong gagawin ng mga marirepatriate natin na architects, di ba? At tapos yung economy natin is mabagal ang paggalaw niyan. What are we going to do? We need to think of how are we going to earn, how are we going to push our business kasi maghanap ka ng magpapagawa ng bahay, maghanap ka ng magpapagawa ng structure sa'yo, baka hindi rin ganun karami. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So anong gagawin natin? So we need to rethink
Yes.
our business model. In fact, Poy, ang isang pinaka, I call it the white space, no? These are unconquered spaces on the business area. Yung white space is the architecture technology. Wala pang gumagawa sa atin ng mga apps. Wala pang gumagawa sa atin ng, alam mo yung gumagawa ng SketchUp apps na
Yes.
ginagamit natin. They're not even architects. They're not
Yes.
even college graduate, di ba?
Ah.
Pero tayo, yung architect, we're using that app. We're using that software. So, kung ikaw, architect, it's a very good opportunity for you to learn these things, no? VR, augmented reality, no? AI. Let's conquer these parts ng profession. You'll be able to gain more. Not only on the design service, kasi yeah.
Actually, you're right about that, sir. Kasi parang growing up as an architect, I felt limited in a way. I felt bounded kasi andun yung oath natin, andun yung ethics natin, andun yung sumpa natin. So parang as much as I know what is wrong and right in terms of the ethics and everything, parang because of that, nalilimit ako in thinking on how to expand myself, how to and I don't know if I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of architects, pero personally, I was saying, like you, I was also part of the academe, but I was telling my students na because of that, remember that having that license is a blessing and a curse at the same time. Di ba?
Okay, Pacoy, I'll answer that with another question, Pacoy. Ha?
Yes, sir.
Natatandaan mo when during the time architects are not allowed to build, are not allowed to do the construction, right?
Yes.
It's a mahabang argumento rin yan. Or sabihin na natin na architects are not allowed to develop also a property. But I'll give you a situation. No? Ito yung analogy ko. Yung architect, alam niyang mali yung ginagawa ng businessman. Pero pinayagan mo. Isn't that unethical as well? You allowed him. Diba? Pero wala kang magawa eh.
Yes, sir.
Pero kung ikaw ang gumawa at ginawa mo ng tama according to your ethics, is that still unethical? Again, as I've said, what we are here for is to deliver the product of architecture.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Diba?
sir. Yes, sir.
Hindi po pwedeng iba ang mag-i-implement ng produkto natin. It has to be realized because what we are talking about is architecture.
Oo nga,
Parang
sir.
gumawa ka ng isang cellphone, di ba? Dinesign, pinroduce, binenta.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
in a manner, dapat ganun din yung architecture. I-design mo, i-construct mo siya, ibenta mo.
Yeah.
Actually, lost for words ako dun, sir. Magandang analogy yun eh.
That's a really good point.
I agree din.
Yes. Okay, let me just remind.
Nawala tayo sa regenerative.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, actually, sir, kasi you promised kanina that we're gonna have two topics here. We were just expecting one topic, which is regenerative, but then you mentioned that you also want to promote this business, and we are already on it, and that's actually. Sa akin, yeah, that's a smooth transition.
Yes.
Coming from regenerative, now we are talking about business of service. I would just like to remind all our viewers, again, this is Poste Podcast. So we are on our second run with our guest architect. Earlier, we were talking about regenerative architecture, regenerative design, the regenerative approach, its difference to sustainability, and how it is important to the modern world. And now we are on to our second topic. Ang smooth ng transition ni Sir Ronnie. We are talking about business of architecture and the business of service.
Actually, sir.
Ayan. Now, if you have...
Vahn,
Go ahead, sir.
Actually, it still is regenerative architecture because we are transitioning from a new architecture.
Yes.
Correct, sir. Maybe, sir,
Tama naman.
in a later episode,
I'm
you
very-
can come back and talk about the business of architecture further.
Yeah.
Pero, sir,
I'm willing to
before
share.
lang, before we move forward, before we go on with our topic, the second topic natin, the business of architecture, before we even forget, sir, you have an ebook which is connected, regenerative systems thinking. Yes, regenerative architecture system thinking, sir. Why don't you take advantage of this opportunity muna to promote this ebook, sir, before we move forward with our topic.
Okay. I would like to promote, by the way, my ebook, which is entitled Connected, Regenerative Architecture Systems Thinking. This is actually about understanding the whole concept of regenerative architecture. No? Marami kasing nagtatanong sa akin, ano ba yung regenerative architecture, Ronnie? Hindi namin maintindihan yan. Ano bang pinagkaiba niyan? All the time, ano bang pinagkaiba niyan sa sustainable model and the green building model? Ano ba yung difference nila? So this answers those questions, and the the very difference is the idea here is it is about replenishing the lost plenitude. Okay, we need to replace what we had consumed or what we will consume. That is the very
Mhm.
essence ng regenerative architecture systems thinking. In fact, this is not only for architects, but I'm trying, ang target audience ko rito are the construction industry, no? The engineers, interior designers, landscape designers, urban planners, contractors, no? Yung built environment sectors, okay? Because we all know that ito yung pinakamalaking contributor na sumisira sa kalikasan natin, no? And that's the very reason why I want to offer a different thinking and alternative thinking. How are we going to do things na healthier sa ating environment? Kasi ang malaking problema nga natin is meron tayong looming problem. Okay? And I want to anticipate that, no? Using this kind of foresight. Yeah,
So,
Van, back to you.
is it
And this is
uh, excuse me, Van? Is the ebook available currently or
Yeah,
not yet?
it is already available. It is already available, Pacoy. Very reasonable price for 500 pesos. It's about 77 page, minimum of 4 6 hour read time, hours read. Tapos very very interesting because um, when you finish reading this book, you will think of architecture differently. Kasi ako personally, I think of architecture as a poetic form, iconic form, no? Pero because of what's happening right now with the COVID-19, ano ngayon yung esensya ng isang iconicity ng isang structure with our environment, no? Ano yung magiging significance niya? Ang sabi ko nga, what defines our ancient architecture is about religion. What
Yes.
defines our modern architecture is about art, di ba? Art and culture and human-centric, di ba? We designed structure na yung humans ang dapat nasa gitna. Okay?
Yes.
This time, this ebook, hindi tao ang nasa gitna. Ito yung pinadala ko sa iyo na diagram, Pacoy, which is yung ego. It's a pyramid na yung tao yung nasa taas, di ba? Ito yung
Yes.
ego.
okay.
Okay?
Ito
Yung
sir, let
ego,
me pull it up.
yung tao yung nandun sa loob ng circle. Okay? We coexist with other living organisms. Dapat yung thinking natin, hindi tayo supreme. Because kagaya ng sinabi ko, isang kagat lang ng lamok sa'yo, madengge ka, patay ka. So you are
Yes.
not supreme at all. Right? So that's the point there. Kinakailangan alagaan mo yung kalikasan para meron kang susunod na kakainin. Otherwise, ikaw yung pwede kang ma-extinct pero yung earth will continue to repair itself. Hindi
Yes,
ka
sir.
kailangan.
So parang we need to be part of that system and we need to run um, na kasama din ng other species na kasama natin dito sa Earth, di ba? Other organisms, ganun.
Right.
Just parang we go with the flow, parang instead of disrupting the cycle or the smooth cycle of ecosystem, parang we run with it, no? And then
Right.
become a part of it. Hindi parang you are a part, but you're not the one running it. You're running with it.
Correct. Since ang tao has the intelligence, dapat alam niya how to deal with the situation. Ikaw yung merong kapasidad na mag-isip, right? For example, there's a snake, no? A rat snake. Syempre, ang common na gagawin ng tao, papatayin niya kagad, snake eh.
Yes, sir.
But truth of the matter is, hindi siya venomous, no? Ang ginagawa niya, kinakain niya yung daga.
Yes,
Yung
sir.
daga, yan yung mag-alis ng peste. Diba?
Yes,
So,
sir.
pero pag pinatay mo sila, magkakaroon ng maraming daga sa'yo. Diba? So, again, magiging cause siya ng problema para sa tao.
I see, sir. So, anyway, we've been talking for about 1.5 hours. I suppose we can wrap up already, Van.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can wrap up.
Okay. Last question. Where could we get the ebook po? How paano kami
Yeah,
magkakaroon ng copy? Where do we buy it?
yeah. You can PM me. You can email me. You can visit my Facebook page, which is connected, or you can visit me directly, Ronnie Yumang, and then I will send the link to register. Then upon registration, you can pay through BDO. I'll give you the account, and then after that, I'll send you the PDF file, PDF format.
I'll be sure,
Okay,
sir,
so
to
all they need to do is just send you.
share
Ayan, may buyer ka na.
share connected your page
The
connected
link.
through my
Yes,
poster
please.
page.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So through that link, everyone who's interested to get a copy of the ebook of Architect Ronnie entitled "Connected," Architects, Regenerative Architecture Systems Thinking. All you need to do is contact Architect Ronnie through his Facebook page. You can send him a message, and then I think that's where they'll go. Sir, you'll send the link, and they'll just need to pay, and they'll have the ebook. Now, no need to go to any bookstores or any stores online. They can just go
It's
to you
paperless.
directly.
Paperless. Huh?
It's
Paperless, tama.
paperless.
Okay, sir. So the ebook once again is called Connected Regenerative Architecture Systems Thinking by Architect Ronnie Yumang. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing the screens of the Poste Podcast. And
Yes,
thank
Thank you
you
so
thank
much
to
you,
for
Ronnie.
my co-anchors, si Van and si Kalai. And in the near future, sir, what can we expect from you? Ano pa ba ang mga ginagawa nyo?
Come again, Pacoy?
What can we, other than
what we
connected, what can we, what other things can we expect from you or see from you? Anything else to
Oh
promote?
yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm trying to work on my next ebook. Actually, it's about business of architecture. I want to work on that as well. Pero medyo hilaw pa yung concept niya, Pakoy. But other than that is I'm selling the properties. I'm selling it's called Ecotone, no? Yun yung
Ecotone.
kinukwento ko kanina. This is what I'm talking about. uh, uh, I'll be using mostly wood, no? Mostly wood, and yun yung I'll be implementing what I am talking about with this regenerative systems thinking. I walk the talk, no?
Yes, sir.
Makikita nila dito kung ano yung life talaga niya.
Yung Ecotone, sir, on a side note, that's actually the model of a famous guitar as well.
Talaga.
Yes, sir.
Ecotone, actually, ecotone is a ecological terminology. That means it's a community that in between two distinct communities. No? So ecotone.
Mm,
So I consider this place as uh, uh, the transition space between different communities.
I see, sir. Okay. Van, do you have anything to promote or si Kalay?
Ako sir, may question lang ako kay Architect Ronnie. So,
Okay lang.
bilang nagpo-promote tayo sir ng architecture, regenerative architecture per se, ano na lang yung masasabi mo sa mga nagsa-struggle pa din like us, na architects and pati yung mga ano pa rin, yung mga tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang business ngayon. What can you say to them
Right.
and how can you encourage them in this time of COVID tapos kung ano yung pwede niyong mai-suggest sa kanila na gawin?
Right. Good question, Lai. In fact, that's what I've been thinking all this time. Also, how are we going to help these people one way or another? For me, what is important is how are you going to get distinct with your skill? Wag tayong magpunta doon sa congested part ng architecture. You have to remember that marami, that's the white space that I'm talking about. No? Huwag tayong mag-focus lamang doon sa congested part niya. I want you to develop also on the technology part. No? If a part of my ebook is the Jugad concept, ito yung creative frugal innovations na sinasabi ko kanina. I got this concept from India. Alam niyo yung mga pagtatawanan mo sa Facebook na yung aircon hinati ng partition para dalawa
Yes,
yung
yes,
kanilang
yes.
lamig. Ano, ha? Nakakatawa yan. Marami ka pang makikita ng mga ganyan. Yung toilet, hinati yung pinto para makapasok ng ganon. So
Yes.
these are the concept of Jugad.
Mhm.
Yung Jugad, is parang habal-habal concept natin dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Meaning, we're trying to find a solution on the cheapest way that we can do. Now, this is the catch. Alam niyo ba that these Indian concepts are now in the hands of the big capitalist in the US, Harvard, no? Ina-adapt na itong concept na to. Yung liter of light na concept, that's part of
Yes.
Jugad. Okay? Now, because of this concept, because of these cheap innovations, they can now send a satellite to the moon. All right?
Mhm.
Very cheap din siya. Okay? So it's not impossible. It's not impossible that we can do the same. Kaya lang they eliminate yung elitism sa innovation. Kasi pag sinabi mong innovation, kailangan magandang-maganda siya, 'di ba? Kinakailangan na flawless siya.
Yeah.
Pero hindi nangangahulugan na na-achieve mo yung need ng tao. Alright? In business,
Yes, sir.
you need to solve that problem of that person. Alright? Kung meron
So-
kang solusyon sa kanyang problema, bibili siya sa'yo. Pero kung ikaw, ang ginagawa mo lamang magagandang drawing, pero hindi yan ang solusyon sa problema niya, then you will not get the project.
Yeah.
Alright? So you need to solve their problem.
Mhm.
So you need to innovate.
So basically, sir, ang sinasabi nyo, wag tayong mag-innovate tayo other than design, hanap tayo ng other niche bukod dun sa
So
kung
drawing
ano
lang,
yung
propose lang.
dun sa
Correct.
typical na ginagawa ng architect. So,
Right.
para mag-thrive. Okay.
Like what we're doing right
That's
now.
the reason why
Yeah. Kaya nga, yun yung isisingit ko, Sir Pacoy
number 1 is podcast, number 2 is gumawa sila ng ebook. Di ba?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yung mga ideas nila, they can create something like that, or gumawa sila ng bookazine, gumawa sila ng something like na hindi pa nasa bahay ka lang, 'di ba?
Mhm.
So you will earn. You
Yeah.
do not focus on visualizations. Do not focus on these things kasi mako-congest lang Pagka na-congest yung isang area, commodity tayo lahat.
Mhm.
Commodity
Yes.
tayo lahat. That's what you call red ocean. Okay?
Mhm.
Hindi
Yes,
wala
sir. Thank
tayong
you.
distinction
Yes,
So
sir.
Thank you, sir.
nag-aaway tayo.
Apa. Yes.
Hindi marinig si
Van, wala
Van.
kang audio.
Sir, I have one question. Totally unrelated.
Sure.
Have we heard the last of you with regards to UAP, or are we running again, or what? What can we expect from you and UAP?
Oh, I'll be doing my next ebook, Pacoy.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So, wala siyang balak ulit, sir. To answer your question, wala
Good
siyang
answer.
balak.
Good answer, sir. Okay. Van, take it away. Wala ka pa ring audio.
Walang audio talaga si
So
Van.
anyway, I'd like to thank you, Sir Ronnie, for
Thank you.
being here, for being interviewed. We hope to hear from you again. Yung isang topic natin, pag-uusapan natin yun in a future episode, the business of architecture, and perhaps you could share your insights with it again. Thank you, Kalai. Thank you, Van.
Thank you, Sir Paul.
Yun,
Thank you,
so,
Architect Ronnie. Thank you to Architect Van. So kahit wala akong nabanggit or nasabi sa mga medyo lost for words kasi ako ngayon na-amaze ako dun sa talk ni Sir Ronnie
Oo nga, oo nga. And of course, thank you to all the viewers of the podcast and the listeners of the podcast. We'll be here again on Thursday next week with our scheduled guest for next week, Mr. Architect William T. What is our topic natin next week, Kalai?
So we will talk about social architecture and the role of architects during and after the pandemic. So, medyo timely yung ating topic for next week. So,
Yun.
so
So, so thank you very much and good night, sir. Good night. Good night, Van and Kalai.
Thank you very
night,
much.
Architect Ronnie. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kalai. Thank you, Han. Bye, Pacoy.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Namali ako ng pindot.